This is Author Conversations, the Stenhouse Publishers podcast. When children's natural curiosity about the outdoors is eclipsed by busy schedules and the glow of video screens, schools may be the only place where they're encouraged to interact with nature. In today's podcast, Herb Broda, author of Schoolyard Enhanced Learning, discusses extending your classroom to the school grounds.
Schoolyard Enhanced Learning is the use of the outdoors around the school to enhance instruction in really any area. And I try to make the point that you don't really need to do a field trip or take a long excursion or do a school camp experience, although those are wonderful things if you can do them. But really, by just stepping outside of the schoolhouse door, there are all kinds of really fantastic, excellent things you can do that definitely are not just fun, although they are, but they also enhance instruction and increase academic achievement. The way I like to look at it is that really when you're talking about the use of the outdoors for teaching, you can talk about the outdoors as being a venue and also as a source of content. If you're talking about the outdoors as a venue, you're simply talking about the phrase I love the most, a change of pace and a change of place. The idea that we can step outside and change the pace of instruction and also literally change the place of instruction. For an example of that might be that there's a teacher I know of in Florida who actually has her students bring in a little quilt, and the students will take that quilt outside, and on a nice warm day they will just spread the quilts out in front of the classroom window, and they will sit there and they will actually read outside and just have an outdoor reading experience. It's not studying the outdoors, but it's simply using the outdoors as a place in which you can do instruction, a change of pace, a change of place. Another example would be just to move the classroom outside for a discussion. If you have a place outside, and I encourage folks to try and establish some type of an outdoor classroom meeting place, a place where they automatically take students outside as soon as they plan to do anything outdoors, and that might be a ring of logs that are set up or some seats or chairs that are outside. Logs work extremely well. But just bring students outside and have a discussion that you would normally have indoors, conduct that outdoors. Again, oftentimes the breadth and the depth of the discussion vary tremendously because students being outside seem to think in a very different way and in a broader way than they oftentimes do when they're indoors. So that whole change of pace and place idea, I think, is very, very powerful. So you can use the outdoors as a venue, but of course you can also use the outdoors as a source of content, and that's oftentimes what we think of first, is the idea of trying to go outside to study the outdoors or to use the outdoors itself as part of the instruction. And there are lots and lots of ways to do that. But that's not just a science-y kind of thing. It's a thing that we can do in language arts, it's a thing we can do in social studies, we can do it in mathematics, we can do it in virtually any area. For example, you can, in math as an example, you can be studying parallel lines indoors and then go outside and look for macro examples in large outside of lines, or you can ask students to look for mini examples of parallel lines in the outdoors, in things that might be the size of your hand. Another very powerful way to use the outdoors, I think, is to use it as a source of data. Oftentimes we want students to chart and graph things, and instead of having students chart and graph things just from things that you find in a textbook, we can have students go outside, gather their own data, and then bring that indoors and chart and graph that. There's so much more power, I think, in students actually looking at their own data that they've found, that they've gathered, that they've collected. There's just a huge amount of impact there. Language arts in the outdoors is extremely powerful. There is just going outside has an incredible pulling at every sense. There is something about the out of doors that makes you more alert, makes you look with more care, frankly, I think makes you much more descriptive. And by going outside as a precursor, for example, to a writing assignment, can be a very powerful experience to have students just take a look at the world around them. And a thing that we oftentimes do is we give students a long strip of adding machine tape. And then at the top of that tape, we will put a leaf at the top. And all students get a leaf from basically the same plant or the same type of plant. And we have them just write as many descriptive words as they possibly can about that leaf. And then we share those descriptive words. And it's amazing because all these students are basically looking at the same leaf. It came from the same plant. But we actually, in a class of 20 or more, you can come up with literally hundreds of different words, phrases, descriptors that describe that same leaf. And students very quickly see the power of observing closely and how we all observe in a very, very different way.
To learn more about a change of pace and a change of place, check out Schoolyard Enhanced Learning, Using the Outdoors as an Instructional Tool K-8 by Broda, available online from Stenhouse Publishers and your Stenhouse distributor. Thanks for listening.